Hello everyone, this is CJ Novo 992 and today we are back with another brand new video. Today's video we have reached that point of the week where it is the Rangers roundup time. Now before we go any further in with today's video, I just want to say the Rangers career mode will actually be uploaded tomorrow. I've seen the comments saying, haha CJ, you stopped doing that again because you got beat. Haha, funny. No, it'll be uploaded tomorrow, okay? And you'll see how I get on. Didn't go well. But without any further ado, let's just get into the actual video then, shall we? 3, 2, 1. Story number 1 then, it's going to be about the gaffer himself, Mr. Steven Gerrard. Now Gerrard has actually been offered a 1-match suspension from the SFA after his comments about Bobby Madden at full time. Now a lot of people was going through the interviews and saying, oh, he never said anything bad, why is he being charged, where does this ban actually come from? There's actually no official evidence of what was said between the Madden, really, wow. Anyway, Madden and obviously Steven Gerrard, there's no evidence of what was said. However, the referee has complained to the SFA saying that Gerrard obviously said something to him after full time. I mean, let's be fair, at full time emotions were running high. I mean, Fordingham even dropped a German suplex a week before WrestleMania on Lustig. Run the clip, it's beautiful. See the way he slaps him as well at the end? That's my... Oh, it'll be on? Alright, okay. So yeah, there was a lot of emotions going into that game and clearly Gerrard just got caught onto that and ended up saying something to the referee. Again, we don't know what was actually said. However, it's been confirmed now that Steven Gerrard has accepted the 1-match suspension, meaning he will be missing the Motherwell game. He will not be able to stand in the dugout. He will be sitting in the stands next to Alfredo Morelos. So let's move on to part 2 of story number 1 then, shall we? And it's going to be involving Mr. Ryan Kent. Now this isn't necessarily breaking news. The start of this anyway is the fact that Rangers rejected the SFA's offer of a 2-match ban. That is why he was able to play against Hearts, and boy did he play. It was actually pretty fantastic in the actual game as well. But Rangers rejected the offer of the 2-match suspension from the SFA, and today, as I'm literally just making this video, I've got a notification to say that the SFA has upheld the actual decision. So Rangers' appeal has been unsuccessful, meaning Ryan Kent will be missing the next 2 games, which will be Motherwell in the first game post-split. And honestly, I'm just sitting here thinking, only in Scotland would Superman get punished for dropping Lex Luthor. Like, it's madness. But in truth, I understand why Rangers actually appealed the decision. Obviously, the way that they were going is the fact that Ryan Kent said that he didn't punch him. The pictures look a hell of a lot worse than what actually happened. They've even sort of suggested that maybe Brown dropped a lot heavier than it actually was. It was just a shove and Brown made the most of it. To be fair, they have got a wee bit of a case when you think about the Alfredo Morelos situation, where it's been proved that Alfredo Morelos didn't touch his face. Scott Brown just dropped like that. Kid and only got hit. It was a pure pathetic attempt by Brown, but again, the intention was there from Alfredo Morelos, and I'm guessing the SFA has also gone with the Ryan Kent intention of actually shoving him. Whether he makes contact with a closed fist or not, the intention is still there, and that is why the SFA has went ahead and upheld the actual decision. But there's nothing else that Rangers can actually do. All that's left is for us just to take the punishment that we've actually been given and actually move on from it. So the next game versus Motherwell, aka the Hammer Throwers, we don't have Mr. Ryan Kent and we also don't have Steven Gerrard. So what's your actual thoughts based on story number 1? Now story number 2 then is actually just going to be a short one. It's a bit of an update on a video that we've already done on the channel about 2-3 weeks ago, involving an actual Motherwell player, by the way, by the name of Jake Hastie. In that video we broke down and showed what a truly talented player that man actually is, and annoyingly you've got to give credit to Gogsy99 because he, before Jake Hastie even kicked the ball for Motherwell, said this guy's going to be absolutely brilliant in the second half of the season. Motherwell's brought him in, look out for this guy. We all laughed and said who's it going to be, and the guy's just showing us up by scoring nearly every single week. Either he's scoring or assisting. The guy's clearly talented. The man just scored against Aberdeen as well, which I guess shows the old saying is true that even a broke clock is right twice a frickin' day. But the reason we're actually talking about Jake Hastie is it's pretty much confirmed in the last 24 to the last 48 hours that Rangers are no longer interested in the player, and that deal is dead, which is a bit of a blow because clearly he's a very, very talented player. He's young, it would have been a pre-contract, but the reason that the deal's actually died away is the agent just wants too much money. He's even went to the MLS and is flogging him there like a piece of ribeye, hoping someone actually bids on the guy, and it's a bit of annoyance if I'm honest. If anything, yes, the deal's done and Rangers are moving away from him. I'm sure Jake Hastie will go somewhere, but when you actually think about it, that's going to be another talented Scottish player that's choosing the money and letting their agents actually run their career. Yes, that's the agent's job, to get them as much money is actually possible. But surely if you were a player in that situation, you look at the track history of all these young talented players from Scotland that just choose money. You know what I mean? They go down south, they sit 3 or 4 years not playing football. Yes, they get loads of money and everything that, but they lose what the football was actually about, and they come back to Scotland half the players that they actually were. And yeah, Jake Hastie seemingly is going to be going down that route again. But yeah, just a short little update video because I know a lot of people was excited to see Jake Hastie because they thought we were signing him, but as it's pretty much confirmed in the last 48 hours that Rangers are no longer interested in the actual deal. So what's your thoughts about that? Do you think it's a blow, or do you think we're better off moving away from Jake Hastie? And the last thing I'm going to say, by the way, if I was Jake Hastie, I'd be phoning up all these boys that went down south and ruined their careers. I mean, I'd be phoning Scott Allen and saying, hey Scott, how's your career turned out that you've let your agent pick your moves for you? How's that went? Now, the third and final topic of this week's Rangers Roundup, as always, is picked by one of you guys, and it's been picked by Mr. Robert himself. Now, he asked a question about what loan players actually have a future at the club, and I'm pretty sure his question was about the players that's currently out on loan, like your Jordan Rossers, your Greg Dochertys, but we've sort of already answered that on the loan player review that we do each and every single month, so I decided to spin it on its head and actually look at the players that we've brought in, who's currently in at the Glasgow Rangers this season, who's been playing all season long, and seen if you could pick one of them to come back next year, who would it actually be? Now, if I'm being honest with you, I'm going to take Ryan Kent right off the board because he would just win that, I'm pretty sure, 99.9% of the actual time. And rightly so, because he's been brilliant all season long, but when you take him out, there's actually 4 other options for you to be discussed, and that fitted perfectly in a poll. Those 4 players are going to be Joe Worrall, Lassana Coulibaly, Stephen Davis, and Mr. Jermaine Defoe. So if you could pick one of those 4, who would it be? Before you actually comment, by the way, let's actually break down their stats and see how they've actually been getting on. So let's start off with the first one then. It's going to be Mr. Joe Worrall himself, the man who splits the fan base down, right down the centre. People love him or people strongly hate the guy. The man who inspired the hashtag #FreeCathits, Joe Worrall, has played 30 games so far this season. He has 1 goal, he's picked up 2 yellow cards and been involved in 13 clean sheets, which isn't too shabby Alonso when you actually think about it. But with Joe Worrall, you've got to look even beyond that because there's good and bad in nearly in every single performance. I mean, the perfect summarisation of Joe Worrall is just look at the Hearts game. Brilliant for 85 minutes, never put a foot wrong. But then what does he do? Pass the ball straight to a Hearts boy and sends him through on goal. There's always that mistake in Joe Worrall, and that's obviously, he's young, alright? I mean, he's going to learn and get better and better. He's valued at over £10 million by Forest. There's clearly a very good player in there. When he gets consistent and rules out those silly little mistakes, he could be a very, very, very good centre half. But the fact is, the problems have been there all season long. Good performance, bad performance, but at the end of the day, I think there's been more good performances than actually bad. So let's move on to the second player where it's going to be up for discussion, and that is Lassana Coulibaly. Again, he's played 30 games. He has 3 goals and 2 assists in his actual appearances. And Lassana Coulibaly, again, is one of these players it's just hard. How do you sum up Lassana Coulibaly? I'm going to try. First half of the season, I mean the first 5-6 weeks, the first 5-6 games, he was absolutely brilliant. We were so impressed by him. He was up there for the running and player of the year already in our own minds. He was that good going forward, going back. He was involved in absolutely everything. But then he got that injury after he ran by about 6 men. And since he's actually came back, I don't know if this is too harsh, you probably slaughter me for this, but I don't think he's really kicked the ball for Rangers since he's came back from that original knock early in the actual season. From starting off so strongly, he's just, there's something no right with Lassana Coulibaly, and he just seems like a pretty much different player. And for me, he started off so brightly, but he's really fizzled out now. 30 appearances is pretty good for an overall season, but the last 5, maybe even 10, have all been pretty much substitute appearances, and yeah, he's not really in with a sniff anymore in the starting 11. Now, the next player we're actually going to discuss is actually Stephen Davis, and when Stephen Davis was signed, everyone was buzzing. I mean, you couldn't find anyone that wasn't. This was a sure thing. Bring him in on loan, then sign him for a free at the end of the season. That is what everyone was tweeting out and actually saying. But it's never quite worked out for Stephen Davis at all this season. He sits at 12 appearances, 1 assist. Now, he has only played 716 minutes, and that's a very, very important stat. He's just not getting the game time. Sub here, and when he did get a start, he didn't really perform. But his last 2 performances, I think personally, have been very good. I mean, the last one, got him a man of the match award versus Hearts, and clearly he's getting better and better, and if he keeps that form up with this new formation, he will and truly might stamp his sort of authority on this season. But looking back at the full thing, has he done enough to win you over? I'm sure you guys will let me know at the end of this actual video. But let's move on to the fourth and final candidate, and that is none other than Mr. Jermaine Defoe. Now, like Stephen Davis, it's been minutes, it's been a real problem for Jermaine Defoe. He's been barely given an actual chance, but when you look deeper into his stats, when you look at when he is given a chance, when he starts, there's always goals. I mean, he's played 13 games for Rangers so far this season. He has 6 goals and 4 assists. That's in all competition. So in 13 games, he has 10 goal contributions. That is brilliant, especially when you look at his actual minutes played. He's only played 645 minutes. In the last couple of appearances before the start versus Hearts has been 2 minute substitute appearance, 14 minute substitute appearance, 18 minute substitute appearances. So his stats are actually pretty damn good. And I think he's been one of these guys, because he's obviously on a very high wage, Bournemouth's playing a lot of that. People are expecting so much from him, but he's never really been given a chance. And again, like I said already in the video, when you look at when he has been given a chance, he's actually performing, and hopefully in the next 3 games, he keeps that form up and gives Alfredo Morelos something to think about. Now, every single one of them, apart from Jermaine Defoe, is leaving at the end of this season. Jermaine Defoe obviously signed an 18-month loan agreement. However, because Bournemouth are paying the majority of his actual wages that he's got in his contract, they have the right to recall him without any cause in the next 2 windows. So I think the question's actually fair to ask throughout the 4 of them, who, if you could pick one, would be here next season. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. We're about to jump over to Twitter and hear from the people directly, but for me personally, spoiler alert, everyone should pretty much know, it's going to be Jermaine Defoe. I think he's a very, very good player, and he needs to be started more often. So now that me and they have had their say on what player they would like to see here next season, let's jump over to Twitter. There's been 1,008 votes. Thank you so much for getting involved. 3% votes for Koulibaly, 18% votes for Joe Worrell, 21% votes for Stephen Davis, but 57% of the people votes for Mr. Jermaine Defoe. Royal Neil writes in Defoe and Stephen Davis, so he's picked 2. Fair play, Roy. No messing about for you. Dominant Dockery writes in, Koulibaly is our best player. He has been week in and week out. McCrory's story writes in, honestly, Defoe, Koulibaly has dropped in form. Worrell is okay, but would rather have a permanent, more solid centre-back because Worrell has been pretty poor for the majority of the actual season. And the last one we'll actually read out comes from Andrew Peyton Carstairs. You could have made that harder. I mean, look at this name. Are you kidding me? He's even got symbols in it. What's happening here? Anyway, he writes in, Defoe brings experience and goals. The rest bring nothing to the actual team. So strong words to actually end this week's episode. But again, you've heard from the people. You've heard from myself. Hopefully, you have actually get involved. If you haven't, you know what to do by now. And also shout out to the Patreons, the absolute legends, for helping support the actual channel. If you would like to join the Patreons, the link for that is down in the description below. I've been CJNova92. Thanks so much for watching, and bye.